Welcome to Washington. I'm Britt Hume. George W. Bush continued his trek through the heartland states where everyone agrees this race will be decided and where he and Al Gore will shadow each other in this campaign's final days. As Carl Cameron reports, Bush's message this day might have been optimistic, but it was not exactly positive.
In suburban St. Louis, George W. Bush ripped into Al Gore's Medicare and health care proposals.
He says he's for a step-by-step plan for universal coverage. No, folks, he's for a hop, skip, and a jump to nationalize health care. He thought Hillary care made a lot of sense. We think differently.
At a rally of 9,000, Bush's policy attack even included charts that aides acknowledged were meant more for TV viewers than voters in the arena.
Y'all can't see this back here, but trust me, this is an incredible maze of what the health care plan would look like under the vision of more government control in our lives.
Bush's attacks were disputed immediately by Gore aides, who charged that Bush's Medicare plans help drug companies and HMOs more than people. Bush's Medicare reforms include letting seniors choose some health care services in the private sector. Bush cast Gore's plan as a massive increase in Washington bureaucracy.
He wants to add, incredibly enough, 182 mandates, new mandates, on top of 132,000 pages of rules and regulations in Washington, D.C.
Bush's charge that Gore creates more bureaucracy was branded hypocritical by Gore aides who say Bush's Social Security reforms could require up to 100,000 new federal workers. Defending his plan, Bush misspoke, suggesting that Social Security is not or would not be a federal program, and that the Democrats are attacking because they don't trust people.
They want the federal government controlling the Social Security like it's some kind of federal program. We understand differently, though. You see, it's your money, not the government's money. You ought to be allowed to invest it the way you see fit.
And immediately after that speech, Bush's aides ran to reporters in something of an attempt at damage control, saying that, in fact, the governor does understand that the Social Security program is indeed a federal program, and later said that Bushisms abound in the final days of this campaign. Something else in the way of damage control that the Bush campaign is likely to have to deal with. Fox News has learned that in 1976, Governor Bush was arrested in Maine and charged with driving under the influence of liquor. The date of the charge, October 15th, 1976. He had his license suspended in Maine on October 26th of 1976, and his driving privileges in Maine were restored July 25th of 1978. Just a few moments ago, we talked with some of the people who have knowledge of this in the Bush campaign. They say it's something that the governor is not proud of, that he was over at the time for driving too slow. Obviously, this is some 24 years ago, and the Bush campaign would assert, one presumes, that it has no bearing at all on the governor's ability to be president of the United States today.
And is the campaign expected to say anything more about this, Carl?
Well, they're only now beginning to deal with this. A Portland affiliate of Fox's in Maine actually made the request for this. That's right, and the information is now just making it to us here in the bubble, as it's called, and the Bush campaign only beginning its preliminary reactions.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. Former President George Bush and his wife Barbara took advantage of early voting in Texas this day to cast their ballots in the presidential race. The Bushes wouldn't say who they voted for at their Houston polling place, but we've got a pretty good idea. The Gore campaign appears to believe that its path to victory must be paved this season by a level of turnout among traditionally Democratic voters that would set records. He continues to pound George W. Bush on his record and experience, but the rest of his message is straight from his party's traditional playbook. Correspondent Jim Angle reports.
The race is close, time is short, and Al Gore is preaching that old-time religion, telling Democrats that he's for the regular folks.
What will we do with our prosperity? Well, I want to put it to work for you, the hard-working families of this country, and make sure you get your fair share of the pie.
At every stop, the message is the same. The country is at a fork in the road, and voters face a choice.
Are you with me? Let's choose the new way, not the old way. Let's go forward, not backward. Let's fight for people, not special interests. Are you with me? Thank you.
To spread the word, the campaign is now running a new ad in 17 states, repeating some of Gore's attacks on Bush's record in Texas, which are used to question the governor's ability to be president.
Let polluters police themselves. Today, Texas ranks last in air quality. He squanders the surplus on a tax cut for those making over $300,000. Is he ready to lead America?
Later in the day, Gore was welcomed to a large rally in downtown Chicago by Stevie Wonder.
America to win is to vote for. Everybody sing it right now, come on!
And after paying his respects to the Reverend Jesse Jackson, Gore started in on Bush and the special interest, making fun of Bush's easy manner.
I can say no to the special interest with a smile. I can fight for you with a smile, and I will.
And every rally ends with an appeal to come out on Election Day.
It is the day when the special interests tremble. They hold their breath, and they hope that you won't see your own self-interest. I'm telling you, what I feel from this crowd is that you can see clearly now. You see what the stakes are.
A large and enthusiastic crowd turned out for Gore here in Chicago, though probably not as big as city officials claimed. They said that they put the number of people at more than 50,000. Several policemen, when asked about that, just smiled and said it was probably closer to 20,000. The larger number, one cop said, must be a Democratic estimate. Britt?
What are the Gore people saying about what their internal polling is showing nationally and in those key states out there?
Well, they're almost bragging today, Bush. They say that as of last night, they were up 2 points among likely voters, and that they're also ahead in Michigan and Pennsylvania, as well as Florida. They're also bragging about what kind of get out the vote effort they're going to have. They're talking about 40 million pieces of mail, 40 to 50 million phone calls overall by Election Day, and some 50,000 volunteers. They say the election will be finished out on Democratic ground with a heavy labor presence. Rick?
All right, Jim, thanks very much. National daily tracking polls show George W. Bush has a steady lead, but the race is tightening. The Battleground 2000 survey has the Texas governor with a 5-point lead over the vice president. That's down from a 7-point Bush advantage the day before. The Rasmussen Portrait of America also has Mr. Bush with a 5-point lead, 47 to 42% in a 4-way race. That survey had him up by 6 points Wednesday. The USA Today CNN Gallup poll shows the Texas governor 4 points ahead, and the Zogby Reuters MSNBC poll shows Mr. Bush leading the vice president 45 to 42% in a 4-way race. Previously, that poll showed Mr. Bush 5 points ahead. And the latest Fox News electoral count shows George W. Bush's safe states remain constant at 205 electoral votes, while states leaning toward Mr. Bush has dropped to 22 electoral votes for a total of 227. That's down from 246 last week. The votes from states in Al Gore's safe column have dropped from 92 to 74, and his leaning number fallen from 117 to 106 for a total of 180, down from 209 last week. 131 electoral votes are from toss-up states. That's up from 83 last week. 11 states are now considered toss-ups, including Florida, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Oregon, and Washington. Coming up, George W. Bush and Al Gore touchdown in Illinois. A look